Yo, hold on, actually. Let me fix my mic. Is that better? Okay. Question. Does anyone have a problem with gluttony like I do? Okay, let me explain, because you're probably wondering what I'm talking about. All right, today, I told the boys about this in the chat earlier. I made this rice dish that my mom makes occasionally sometimes, and it's Italian. It's really delicious. Well, I make it. It's sitting on the plate, and it's piping hot. And I'm telling myself, just don't eat it. Wait 15 minutes for it to cool, and then you can just shove it down your gullet. But do I do that? Answer, no. Of course not. I don't do that. I eat it immediately, and now Birdie has second-degree burns, like, all over his mouth. And it's just obnoxious. Like, I have no self-control. It's ridiculous, especially with food. And, like, I've lost 90 pounds this year, you know. That's an accomplishment I'm proud of. I guess what I'm saying is, no matter how much weight I lose, I'm still a fat person at heart. I almost said a fat. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get to the show. So today's show is awesome. It's one of my favorite episodes we've done in a long time, even though we haven't been doing this show that long. Whatever, you know what I mean. We have an interview with our first guest today. It's a great interview, really awesome. And we actually talk about hockey quite a bit, gets quite a bit more coverage than it normally does on the show. So that's awesome. And let's start the show. The great American pastime.
Watching my Oilers, talk.
Your Oilers. God damn it. All right, welcome to this episode of Stone Sports. My name is Bert, a.k.a. Bertrude Stein. I have with me, as always,
Bertrude Stein!
Say what up, Dubs.
What the fuck is up?
And me, say what up, me.
That was a great one. What's up?
Yeah, I know. I've been saving that one for a minute.
Bertrude Stein. Oh,
I couldn't think of any other famous Gertrude, so I just went with that one.
I'm so sad I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I know, right? I thought of it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, sit on that one, bro. That one's really good. All right, so how was the week so far? I know it hasn't been that long since we talked, but...
Yeah, I mean, not bad. We got a good bit of snow yesterday. That kind of sucked. My feet were wet during work. But...
Yeah, we're about to get a shitload tomorrow, like 10 inches.
I'm going to warm up here, and I'm angry about it. I need to move.
Yeah, bro, just move out to the East Coast with us. Come on.
And then you can give it a couple years, and you'll be big about it like we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Then move to Florida or Arizona.
Well, don't move to Florida.
Or Arizona.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But we're sticking to sports. We're sticking to sports. We're not going down that road. So let's.
Oh, I was talking about heat. Like,
Florida, dude. Florida is.
I was talking about the people.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Florida, the heat is oppressive. Is the
worst.
only word for it. Like, it's oppressive because the humidity is so goddamn high. Like, it's.
Yeah.
I don't understand Florida. People are like, it's so beautiful. I'm like, really? Because this is just a giant swamp.
It's hot, sticky. I hate it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Phoenix, which you like walk outside and it's like getting smacked in the face, like because it's just so hot.
Yeah,
like
I've never been there, but I've heard that it's like brutal.
Yeah,
Meech is a well-known Disney World fan, though.
Well, actually, no, I'm not. I like Disneyland.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I always mix
Yeah.
them up. Disneyland.
Because Disney World's not as good.
You should have your own podcast where you like do tier ratings of theme parks.
Just put it on the channel. I'll endorse it.
Yeah,
I don't love theme parks though. I just like Disney.
I don't either, but we'll tier list something else.
Yeah, we should do a whole episode of like of tier lists, like of all kinds. But okay, baseball, go.
First of all, I don't like being hurried. So calm down. I just had Oakland traded Elvis Andrus. traded for Elvis Andrus. Sorry.
I
Hi.
fucking tweeted about that. Forgot to put it in my notes because I'm a fucking stoned idiot.
Yeah, well, I just fucking had a seizure mid sentence, so we're all of that boat.
Starting out strong here.
Yeah.
This beautiful Wednesday.
Just cue our music. Just play our music for this whole episode.
Cue the
Oakland...
Lou.
What?
There it is.
So I've noticed I do that all the time, but he always says it right as I'm like looking at my notes and like processing what I'm about to say. He always gets some quick word in there, so that I have to like stop. And then it's not, like, you know how when you ask a question, you're like, "Hey, what'd you say?" But you and then like they start saying it, you're like, "Oh yeah, I heard that." That doesn't happen. I didn't hear it. So then I have to say what? Like I try to process the information.
What geeks me
I
out?
have to say what?
What geeks me out is you say it the same way every single time. What?
What?
You just
I said cue the Lou because Lou Vega is the artist who makes our intro.
Cue the Lou.
I thought you meant Lou Bamba.
No, Lou Vega. Just as good.
Yeah. Anyway, Oakland trades for Elvis Andrus. That was a fucking tangent. From the Rangers for Chris Davis. Andrus is under contract till
the Chris Davis that's still serviceable.
Yeah. And is owed $28 million. Chris Davis with a K is a free agent at the end of the year.
Red Sox missed out on Marcelo Zuna. I wasn't super high on getting him anyway. I know a lot of people were. He returned to the Braves on a 4-year, $64 million deal. Braves did lose Adam Duvall. He had 16 home runs last year in a shortened season. He went to division rival Marlins. So Marlins get a good bat. In Duvall, he hits well for power, but his contact leaves room to be desired.
Yeah, regained prominence really in Cincinnati and then had a decent year with the Braves again as well. So, yeah, they get a big power bat. I like that signing, bringing back Ozuna. Like I said, I think we've talked about it before. The Braves, one of the best teams in the league as far as I'm concerned. Everyone's looking elsewhere for the Dodgers competition. Dodgers, as we know, are favorites to repeat. I looked it up yesterday. I was going to place a futures bet on them. Didn't get good enough odds. So moved on from that. But Dodgers favorites to repeat. I think Braves in the NL get disrespected, especially with like the flashy moves that the Padres have made. But make no mistake about it, I'm scared of the Braves.
Flashy moves the Padres have made. You guys make flashy moves too. It's not just the Padres.
I mean, we signed Bauer. Like they did a whole bunch of stuff, bud.
They signed fucking. They traded for Snell. What else?
They traded for Snell. They traded for Musgrave. They traded for another.
Musgrave is pitcher. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying, but they've been a flurry of activity. They've been the only really super active team in the offseason. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, they're so good.
The Mets, you just got a vendetta against the Padres.
I have a vendetta against the Padres because they think they're the shit, and yet they can't. They're like the little brother that you just keep punking. So, I mean, everyone was talking like they have a great rotation. Then we have 3 Cy Youngs. So, suck it, Padres fans. Anyway, go ahead.
I've got no scratch on that one.
Yeah, right.
Jonathan Villar was signed by the Mets. Mets also reportedly interested in your boy Justin Turner. And Dodger went to the dark side for you, Mage. Jake McGee leaves the Dodgers for the Giants on a 2-year deal. Decent reliever. His best days are behind him, but still a good piece of the bullpen. In Red Sox news, Jackie Bradley Jr. expecting a 4-year deal. Wants money like Marcelo Ozuna got. I doubt that's going to happen. He's a few months older than Ozuna.
I get like 50, though.
Not nearly the bat, but yeah. Still a generational defender. And yeah, like you said, Mason, I think he'll be somewhere in a 4-year 50 ballpark.
Yeah.
4-year 45, something like that.
I think that's good value for both sides, honestly. It's weird. I saw a picture of Betts, JBJ, and
you gotta rip my heart out right now? You trying to do that? Because other Red Sox news, Benintendi's
yeah.
RIP. Penny Biceps, RIP the Flow. It was coming back this year. It's Win Dance Repeat is dead, boys. 2017's gone. The outfield that we loved is no more. No mas. Elfin. Yeah, we got Frankie Cordero from the Royals. He struggled with injury issues, was hailed as a decent prospect with speed and pop. He's never lived up to that, mainly because of the injuries. He hasn't gotten the at-bats that he needed to develop properly. Not really the return I wanted to get for Benintendi, but we're hopping behind it. Franchise Cordero is landing in Boston soon. Benintendi's heading to the Royals. And who else was involved in that deal? There's a third
A
team
bunch
too,
of
right?
lesser known names, really.
Well,
I
there's a
didn't-
third team.
Yeah, the Mets.
Right, the Mets. My bad.
Yeah.
The Mets got prospect Khalil Lee, center fielder for the Royals.
Yeah. I mean,
That was-
not too big of a deal, but it will be interesting
Benintendi
to
was
see
the
how
biggest piece.
franchise Cordero does with his physical. As we all know, Boston's stickler for physicals.
We want to make sure everyone's healthy in this
yeah.
pandemic-stricken world. That
Yeah,
is
Bruce
2020 and
Gutterall looked pretty
2021.
healthy in the World Series last year.
He might have been in the World Series, but he might not have been in spring training.
Anyway,
Don't bitch.
yeah, and
you got the
said
best
Turner-
the second best player in baseball, and you got a fucking World Series out of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So don't bitch.
And we got Bruce Gutterall. I mean, I'm happy to have him.
All right.
You guys passed that up, and I was like, I'll take him. We need some hard throwing bullpenners. Like, I was happy to have him. He looked good all postseason.
We've got Adam Ottavino from.
Say
got
that
Matty
with a little bit
Backpacks.
more. Say it with a little bit more zest.
We just signed someone from Japan. We'll be all right. Don't you worry about the Red Sox. Don't you worry
Yeah,
about
it's
the Red
funny.
Sox.
I was waiting
I
for
didn't
it.
see. I didn't see Turner was interested in the Mets, but that's where we got him from, and he didn't do so hot there. So it's interesting he wants to go back there. I think he's just trying to get a contract right now. And honestly, I know he's a
I'm
captain
pretty
of the
sure he'll
Dodgers.
end up back with the Dodgers.
We'll see. I mean, they're inquiring if he wants 4 years. I don't think they want to give him 4 years, and with good reason. He hasn't been healthy the last couple years, and so I think we offered him a 2-year deal. He wants a 4-year deal. It's really going to be his last contract, so he's trying to get cash in. But we'll see where he goes.
We shall see.
We shall see. Anything else you want to talk about with baseball, Dubs?
Just a quick RIP Billy Canigliaro, brother of Tony Canigliaro, Red Sox legend.
Yeah, R.I.P. Resting in peace. Moment of silence. Okay.
On to NBA.
Yeah, let's do it. Take us there, Skitch.
What?
I said, take us there, Skitch.
Mark Cuban says Mavericks didn't cancel the national anthem. Everyone says they did. Mark Cuban says no. I'm a big Mark Cuban guy, but if everyone's saying you did something, you probably fucking did it. League says every team must play the national anthem, and that's where we land on that.
Yeah,
He said, she said, that seems to be over already. We'll probably never hear about it again.
I don't know, man. I don't really, I'm not disrespecting the national anthem. I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense to me to play it at every single
I've
game.
always said that.
In the championships, that's fine. If it's an international competition, I get it. But I don't understand it at every game.
I don't hate that as much as I hate God Bless America.
I'm with you. Me
It's
too.
a good time to go grab your last beers before the game starts if you're at the event, or go grab a fucking hot dog. But that's
Speaking of, you eat at the games?
You have to.
Occasionally,
Right?
not every time, but most times.
I know people would be like, "No, I'm not doing that shit," and they'll get food before the game, and it's like, dude,
I like to get food outside of it. Like if I go to a Red Sox game, I'll stop and get something on the street from one of the street vendors.
Right, that makes sense. But I'm just saying,
But
if you're in
that's
a
kind of the
ballpark,
same thing, though.
Get a fucking
Right.
hot dog or some nachos. There's nothing quite like that.
You gotta get a Dodger dog if you're
Gotta
going
get
to the
a
Dodger
Fenway
game.
Frank, which is way better than a Dodger dog. So you can fuck off.
Okay, yeah. As you're sitting behind a fucking column, I'm sure it is. Anyway, Yeah, no, I'm a big. I get stuff every time I go, even though it's crazy expensive and probably not as good as anything you could get before. It's just like the atmosphere there,
Yeah.
and I just don't care. I don't go to enough games to make it worth a damn. Like I remember growing up in Bakersfield, I used to go to the Condors games all the time, and we would eat before going there. So like we would go for there, but like but like if I go to like a real game, like a real like
Yeah.
major
Are you
league
saying the
event,
Condors aren't a real franchise, just like the Kings?
yeah. Okay. Okay. No, actually, I was watching my new team, the Oilers, and
Oh my God! Here we go. His new team.
And someone
this Fairweather ass fan shit is garbage.
Hold on. Someone on that team played with the Condors because they said Bakersfield, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I heard that. Also, they have the German Dream. But no, I'm just kidding. I've only placed like four or five largish bets on the Oilers, and they've covered all of them. So I've kind of embraced them.
I mean, like
also,
I said,
they're
dude,
on when I get on my exercise bikes, so I usually watch them.
You could just clean up on the overs on an Oilers game all the time because it's going to be
I
like
don't
10
bet
goals.
over. They just win money.
I'm just saying, you can make a lot of money that way. All right, tangent over. Let's get back to basketball. Let's get the train back on the tracks.
Oh, we'll get to hockey.
Carmelo
Carmelo Anthony passed Oscar Robertson for 12th on the all-time scoring list. He's not far behind place, which is Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, all-time great. Melo getting up there in age, but we'll see how far he can climb on the list. Utah Jazz have won 16 of their last 17, continue to be one of the hottest teams in basketball. But despite that, the Celtics have the best record in the NBA at 20-5. Moving from the Celtics to division rival, piece of shit, Kyrie Irving.
Sometimes your Boston mentions are just miserable. Like,
why?
They're
not miserable. We're doing great. We're 20-5
for no goddamn reason.
We have the best record in the NBA. What does that mean? No reason.
You
know who does it? The Lakers.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
We'll get there when we win the championship. LeBron will.
We'll see you there.
Good fight. Yeah. We'll see if you can get out of the juggernaut that is the East.
We will. We will be totally fine because the Nets are struggling. Kyrie says they look very average right now. Karl Anthony Towns starting again after a COVID diagnosis a few weeks ago. It's good to see him back on the floor. Like we said a few episodes ago, he had a lot of family members pass away this year to COVID. So it's nice to see him get over it and get back on the floor. The Bucks seem to have righted the ship. They were sliding in the power rankings, and their record was sliding the last couple of weeks or so, but they've won their last 6. And they've climbed back up to be one of the best teams in the stacked Eastern Conference that Meech likes to talk about.
Oh, dear.
Like, the West is way more loaded than the East.
I don't know.
It has been for years.
I don't watch basketball, so I don't fucking know.
I mean, we've seen actually some more talent migrate to the Eastern Conference.
We have, but the West is still.
But the West is just so stacked. I mean, you have the Jazz.
The Blazers skip in as like a 7th seed every year. Like they're
you have the Jazz and the Nuggets and the Blazers, who are all like second tier teams in the West and would be championship teams in the East.
Yeah. But that's all I had for fucking basketball. We can kick it to NHL. We will start off with the Bruins and the Rangers.
All right, let's just get it out of the way. Let's hear the nonsense it's going to spew from your mouth.
Rangers defense played well.
Oh, wow.
Your goalie played better than I thought he would. He made saves I didn't think he would make.
Oh, wow.
However,
he's going to be nice for once.
Tuukka Rask stood on his fucking head because he's the best goalie in hockey.
Except how about when he
had a double post shot that should have been a fucking goal in the power play when they got up 2-1 in the second, but you guys got given a gift there.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say to you, but then I had got distracted by work. I was like, dude, at this point, I don't even care who wins because this game has been dope as shit.
It was really good. I turned it on right when I got off and was about to hop on the exercise bike, and it was a good game. It was a good game.
Yeah, Panarin got hurt, and then Brad took a run at him like the piece of shit he is.
Brad?
Yeah, Brad.
He would never.
He fucking did. And that, by the way, should have been a penalty, but it wasn't.
Panarin just fell over.
Panarin didn't fall over. Panarin had been clearly injured. He played like 10 minutes in the entire game. Then he's out
think
on
he
the
was
ice
faking.
and okay, sure. I'm sure.
I mean, did you notice it happen after he got the puck stolen from him and allowed a shorthanded goal?
No,
He did allow a shorthanded goal.
He did allow a
That was tough
shorthanded
stuff.
goal. That's true, but
His pocket got picked.
yeah, but you know, it's the same thing.
Chris
I've been
Wagner
saying.
put that bitch in. He
It's
was
like
"Whoop, whoop."
fucking. It's
Top
just you know, it's a young team, but like it's kind of crazy to see a bunch of rookies playing that well. You know, I mean, like look at like the
Not well enough
defense
to
is,
win,
like,
but they did
all
well.
rookies, and I mean, you know, they've only played like 8 games, and they look that good. I mean, to be able to stand up against people like Pasternak and Bergeron and hold your own like that, that's kind of wild to see, and it's just fucking unfortunate that the bread man is injured.
Tuukka's a goddamn brick wall.
Yeah, I mean, I said it to you before. Like, it literally happens all the time. It doesn't matter who you play. I'm going to be honest with you, man. If it wasn't for him, I really don't think the Bruins would be where they are right now. And I don't even mean that as disrespect.
People don't give Tuukka Rask the respect he deserves. He's
Yeah,
one of the best goalies in hockey, and nobody fucking treats him that way.
Yeah, because like,
and the media here consistently tries to run him out of town.
I mean, dude, I'll be honest with you. I think that's like any big city. Like any time a team, you know, a player makes one mistake, the media just runs him. Like likes to make a villain. You know, like they get clicks that way. So I just feel like that happens like everywhere. But I mean,
to foreshadow a little bit, we talked about that with Chris Carter in our interview too. He was talking about that with Tomlin.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we will get to that interview very shortly here. But the last point that I have to make about it is, like, when you hear announcers, and they consistently said it tonight, and they say it all the time when I watch the Bruins play, like, oh, they're a come-from-behind team. You're only ever a come-from-behind team if your goalie keeps you in the game. Like the Oilers, to throw it back to Meach, are never a come-from-behind team because their goddamn goalie can't keep them in the goddamn game.
No, but it doesn't matter because they just put up 50 points a game, and that's what we talk about, dude.
But they're 8-7. We're not going down this rabbit hole again.
It's second place. You're shitting. They have double the wins that you guys have. They're in second place. I don't know why you're shitting all over them.
I don't know why you're defending them so hard. You're not even an Oilers fan. You're a Kings fan.
They've won in the chat. He adopted the Oilers.
Yeah, because he's a Fairweather fan.
Money.
I told him it was a bitch move to pick the team with the best player and just call it his.
I mean, it's a bitch move regardless because it's a Fairweather ass fan shit. It's like, oh, my team's not doing well. I'm not going to support him now. I'm just going to go root for the Edmonton Oilers.
In all fairness, I'm not
leave it to a Lakers
hockey fan or
I know you're not. I'm sorry.
Basketball fan to begin with. So I mean, literally on my goddamn Twitter bio says Fairweather Kings and Lakers.
It does say that.
All right, all's forgiven then. But no, I'm.
But we are going to be good next year because we have the top like draft prospect class apparently.
No,
both of you keep saying that.
No, you have the second best, but yeah, you do have Quentin Byfield if he comes up next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him another year to develop.
The biplane?
Just because, I mean, dude, that guy, his ceiling is so high. Like if he can put it together. I heard we're
gonna get the German dream Draisaitl, bro. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay. I was like, if that's a rumor, I fucking doubt that, dude. There's no way that's gonna happen.
No, I love it because he's German and I'm German.
I just want to say, for the next 5 years, I am so excited for the rivalry between the Bruins and the Rangers because I think it's gonna be fucking gritty as shit.
I can't wait to come in here and shit talk you on mic every time we play each other.
I mean, you say that, man, but you guys almost didn't win tonight. Don't act like it was easy for you.
I'm not. No, I'm saying either way it goes.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's gonna be fun. That's for sure. So the Golden Knights are having COVID troubles. They are.
The Knights
joining the Devils and the Sabres.
They had one player added to the list. The list they're not adding is with the Devils and the Sabres. They are not canceling any games as of yet. The NHL hasn't forced them to cancel anything. They're still playing against the Ducks as scheduled.
No, I mean, if it's just a couple of players, you're fine. It's when you like the Devils literally had they're one short of an actual full bench of a hockey game. That's how bad it was for the Devils. There were 19 players, and it's 20, I think. That's a full bench, right? Because you got 4 defensive pairings, so that's 8, and then 4 forward pairings of 3, so that's 12. Yeah, 20. Wow, I did math.
Quick math with Bernie.
Yeah, math with Bert. There you go. With Bertrude Stein. Yeah, so the Devils are fucked. Also, I don't know. I think it's kind of bullshit. Like, because there's, the Devils and the Sabres are kind of holding their place in the division, but they're not playing any games. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of fucking whack. So here's a question. I heard this asked recently on another show. Do you think this Stanley Cup will be more legitimate than the COVID bubble cup?
Yes.
No,
I don't.
I
don't, because if you have teams that don't finish all their games and then you're getting point percentages instead of actual win points or overtime loss points, it's not as legitimate. I feel like the last playoff was more legitimate, but we'll have to see. We have to see how it plays out. I just wanted to know where you lie on that.
I just feel like it's not harder or whatever. It could be harder, I guess, but I just feel like it's a championship. Like, no matter, I don't care if it's a short season. I bet you if your team won a championship, you would say it's a championship. And there were so many other different hurdles they had to do, but it's always hard to win a championship. I mean, it just is.
And the Stanley Cup is, famously, described as the hardest trophy to win. So, I mean, I guess either which way, it's a legitimately hard-fought battle, and so we should give credit to the players there. But let's talk about the Canadiens and the Leafs, which I also think that this has been one of the better rivalries of the season.
Injury-prone bitch-ass fraud Carey Price was 9 for 9 on shot attempts in the first period, and after that, it fell apart.
He's famous
Toronto
for
had
that.
a goal in this. Yeah, he is. Toronto had a goal in the first and 2 in the second, unless they put another one on at the end. But
I didn't see it.
I believe it was 3-1 was the final.
I'm not sure. All I know is the interesting part about the Canadian division is...
Or 2. They each got another one in the last 5 minutes.
Nice. I mean, they're both hot teams, but I was going to say, the interesting thing about the Canadian division is you always kind of think this about the Leafs. You don't always think it about the Canadians, but I am thinking that this year because they just look ridiculous. But they're not playing anyone else, So most of the time the Leafs look great, and then they go play the Bruins or the Rangers, and they just get stomped on. And you're like, all right, maybe they're not that good. So it's going to be really interesting, and honestly, I think pretty fun to see those matchups when the playoffs come. Because you may have this team that looks like hot shit, and then they go up against a team from our division and they get fucking wrecked. I don't know. It's really interesting. But Austin Matthews, I mean, that guy is ridiculous, man.
Bad mustache.
Horrible. The worst mustache in professional sports, probably.
It's really bad.
It's really bad. That guy can fucking play hockey, man. It's ridiculous.
He needs a new barber.
Yeah, he does. I get it if it was the playoffs, tradition and whatnot. But, bro, why is the mustache there?
I'm not one to talk about good facial hair because I have none, and the small bit I do have sucks. But that mustache is terrible.
Austin Matthews, come on the podcast and defend your mustache. All right, so we want to get to this interview.
Yeah, for sure. We'll put that in here. Like I said on the last episode, if you didn't hear it, we had our first guest, Chris Carter, with DK Pittsburgh Sports. He's a Pitt beat writer, host of Locked On Steelers podcast. He knows everything you want to know about Pittsburgh sports. He was generous enough to give us time on Super Bowl Sunday to sit down and answer some questions from us. And he had some great answers. We got a good 20 plus minutes from it. And we hope you enjoy.
All right, let's get to it.
All right, Stone Sports listeners, we are here with our very first guest. He is a Pitt beat writer at DK Pittsburgh Sports. He is the host of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Please welcome NFL analyst Mr. Christopher Carter.
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on the show.
Anytime, man. Thank you for doing it. We appreciate you taking the time. We won't try to take too much of it on the Super Bowl Sunday. But we'll get right to it. What went wrong after 11-0 for the Steelers?
We jumping right into the big
Jumping
question.
right in.
Well, I mean, it's going to be the thing that everyone's going to overanalyze over the next 8 months. However long it takes. So it's February. So our first, the first game will be September. So 7 months.
Right.
But to me, I think the Steelers got away from things that balanced their team early in the season. A few things. One, you saw that like through 6 or 7 games when they were winning those games, they did have a rushing offense. They were rushing for over 130 yards per game. James Conner could be a factor. Benny Snell could be a factor, and that was working. But as the season wore on, Ben Roethlisberger, and the offense, they went away from that. And that's not something that's completely horrible and inexcusable. That happens when the things that they were doing were more new wrinkles into the offense. They're going to lean on the things, especially in the tight games. Because you look at the games that did it. It was the Ravens game, the Titans game. When push came to shove, Ben was like, "We got to win these games," and they went to and they would let him like, "Okay, we're going to just give you full control of the offense." But the problem was, you needed to go back to him not having that and working the run game to make it a full balanced offense for the Steelers. And then you saw, some of those games like when they played the Jaguars or when they played the Cowboys, and it was kind of like, this is cool. They're getting W's, but they need to be a little bit more consistent with how they build their offense. And down the stretch, you just saw teams were like, we're not scared of your run game. You're not throwing the ball deep enough. We're just going to take away the short pass, and eventually you're going to keep making the mistakes that will bait you into. And that's what happened for the Steelers offense. And then for the Steelers defense, I mean, they just kept running. Yeah, it's just Devin Bush. As soon as he went out, they were a great run defense when he was in there, and then they weren't a great run defense when he wasn't. And they were compensating as best they could. But then eventually, when you lose Bud Dupree on top of that, and then Joe Hayden was in the playoff game, it's it was just a situation. I think it's funny. People always talk about collapses, with teams, but they don't acknowledge what led to those collapses. Was it that they just gave up? Because that's what people try to, insinuate that it is, but it's rarely that. There's a lot of factors that play into it. And to me, I think that Art Rooney's comments about we need to focus on the run game is the utter truth. And I think that's a good sign that at least the Steelers know what direction they have to go in, whether or not Ben Roethlisberger is still with the team.
That plays right into my question. That would be, how do you think the team replacing OC Randy Fitchner and the offensive line coach affect this offense going forward into next year? As you mentioned, I don't think most of us had questions about the defense. We saw the amount of injuries and you could tell they were just obliterated on defense. And even then they still put up great fights. But the offense, how do you think those changes will go forward from the offense?
I mean, I think one thing that we're going to see is with Matt Canada in the offense. For those who don't know about Matt Canada, maybe you've heard this before, but to me, I think that Matt Canada has a lot of different innovations that aren't being that would bring some new wrinkles into the offense, and that's what you started to see at the beginning of the season. In those early games where the run was working, the Steelers were using a lot more motion. They were finding different ways to isolate specific defenders so that their run game could get working. But again, when it's just something that a quarterback coach introduced to the offense, and it's something you barely worked on in a year where you didn't even have a real training camp, that's not easy to make a mainstay of your offense. With him as offensive coordinator, now those things that were working early in the last season to get the run game going, they'll be a real part of the offense. And presumably, the Steelers will probably have maybe 1 or 2 new offensive linemen and probably a new running back to carry the ball and carry the load for the offense. And I think there will be a stronger focus to get them the ball and to run the ball and to protect the football rather than, the way that they were turning the ball over this year. I still think the biggest problem the Steelers had late in the season is they were just turning the ball over too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're looking for from Matt Canada. Fichtner, one thing I think is unfair to Fichtner that people often overlook is that this man, when he took the job in 2018, he thought he was getting the killer bees. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger. Well,
Martavis Bryant was still on the team too. Sorry to interrupt you.
Right. Well, they at least had an idea that he probably wouldn't be there. But still, even without Martavis Bryant, you get those 3 guys and Juju, and you think I'm rocking. Let's go.
It's a plethora of weapons.
Exactly. But then 2018, what happens? Le'Veon Bell never shows up. and it's like, oh snap, the guy who had the most yards from scrimmage in NFL history at that point when he had just chosen not to show up for the Steelers. He was on a record pace of how many yards he was contributing per game. He doesn't show up, that's going to change your offense. And I still maintain if Le'Veon Bell had shown up in 2018, the Steelers not only make the playoffs, they win the division that year, and they would have had a good chance at a run. And then 2019, Antonio Brown implodes, and you have to send him elsewhere. So now you're missing two of the killer bees. And then that was the season Ben's elbow goes out. So in a matter of one season, Randy Fichtner's like, where is the superstar offense that I thought I was going to get? And then I designed everything around. So again, I'm not making excuses for Fichtner, but imagine you getting your first opportunity to conduct an offense, and that's what happens to
pulled
you.
Out. The carpet gets pulled out from underneath you.
Right. And again, this isn't me. Again, I'm not saying woe is Randy Fichtner. It's just that's a reality this team had. And another reality I think that a lot of people ignore about the Steelers, even go back the year before that, in 2017, everyone felt really good about the Steelers because you had Ben, you had Pouncey in his prime, you had Bell, Brown, and the big thing on defense was Ryan Shazier. In 3 straight years, you lose pillars to the team in Shazier on defense in 2017, Bell on offense in 2018, Brown on offense in 2019, and then Ben that year as well. It is remarkable that we're still talking about this team like they have a chance. If you did that to any other franchise, go to the Saints and pull away Kamara and Thomas and Lattimore and Jordan, and they're not competing. You go to the Chiefs right now, pull away Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Tyrann Mathieu. They're not fighting right now. That's a testament to how I think the Steelers still are moving in the right direction. I know I went way off topic with the question there. I apologize.
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, I think no one doesn't see that the Honey Badger totally changed his defense. And it's, I mean, like you said, like one person makes a difference, let alone taking away 3 key people. I mean, I think you really did see that over the last few years. And I think a lot of people acknowledge that in Tomlin's coaching was the best job he did last year, with a shell of a team. I mean, he still just willed them to a decent record.
We talked about it a couple episodes ago. It's nice to see Tomlin finally getting his due, like the last couple of years, because people have noticed that, I feel like, and have given it a testament to his coaching, and he's deserved that because he's been one of the best coaches in the NFL really since he came in. And the Steelers are consistently in the playoffs. Like you said, it's if you did that to any other team, they wouldn't be in the position that they're in.
And that's the thing. Now, it's funny you say that. Where are you guys based? I'm sorry.
We're everywhere. So I'm a Pats fan. He is an Eagles fan in California.
Yeah, I'm mostly LA, but I chose the Eagles because we didn't have an NFL team at that time. So
no, totally understandable. I went to Cheney, so I went to college all around in Eagle country. But so you guys don't get the Pittsburgh scene. Everywhere else, Mike Tomlin's beloved, but in Pittsburgh, there is a huge call to fire him. Every single season they don't win. It is through the roof. And I think that's why. Okay, I wanted to make sure I preface that before we continue the conversation, because I am seen as a Mike Tomlin defender. Like there are some people like, you never criticize him. Like, no, I criticize him for little things here and there, but I'm never saying that he's the reason why they lost the game.
He's a great coach.
Exactly, and there are people legitimately saying in a game where Ben Roethlisberger threw 4 interceptions and Marquise Pouncey snapped a ball over his head and gave up a touchdown, that Mike Tomlin was at fault for that Browns playoff loss.
You guys almost came back.
They were 11 points away. And that's why I'm just like how do people look at the Steelers situation and say, yeah, coaching's the problem? To me, the problem is there's a lot of people that don't want to admit when Ben Roethlisberger is at fault. And that's something that I've stood on the line for years because I'm a guy that when the national media is bashing Ben while he's throwing 5 touchdowns, I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, he played great this week. But when he has his 5 interceptions games, I'm sitting here and I'm like, he played poorly this week. And there's people in local media that are like, oh, no, he didn't play poorly.
Let's not talk about that.
Exactly. And I'm just like, and that's the dichotomy that I'm in, is that nationally there can't be recognition for Ben when he does well. Locally, there can't be recognition when he does poor. And I'm just like, can we just admit when he's good and when he's bad? And that would really help these conversations. But I literally sat on a TV show once where I was talking to Mark Madden And Mark and I are good buddies. We talk about a lot of different stuff, and we acknowledge we disagree. But there was a game where they tied the Browns 2 or 3 years ago. Ben Roethlisberger had 5 turnovers in the game. 5.
I remember that game because Ben Roethlisberger was on my fantasy team.
So you was hurting that game.
I remember that game.
I'm talking with Mark on the show, and we're asked who's the biggest to blame for the Steelers not winning that game. Mark Madden legitimately said James Conner because he had 1 fumble while the Steelers were up 2 touchdowns, and while he rushed for over 100 yards in his first ever career start. And I'm like, how can't you look at the quarterback who had 5 turnovers and makes the most money on the team?
And especially if your reasoning is that Connor fumbled the ball and turned it over.
Exactly. If you're looking at 1 turnover and skipping, especially the 3 that came after that from Ben Roethlisberger, and that's a constant thing that I have. I mean, after this Browns game, we're talking about Juju's TikTok dancing, what he said the Browns is the Browns. We're talking about culture and Tomlin and this and then. I'm like, they turned the ball over too much. You can't have 5 turnovers in a playoff game and think you're going to win. It could happen by a miracle, but you don't want miracles. You want consistent play, and they didn't get that out of their offense. I think that's the thing that in the Tomlin discussion, they've done everything to get. They got Ben a primo running back, the best wide receiver in football for 6 years, a top 5 offensive line, very good secondary options at both running back and wide receiver. The Steelers never had a number 1 offense. The direction and I think Tomlin gets this now. The direction this team needs to go is having an elite defense again, like they did when he last won a Super Bowl and last made the Super Bowl, and a balanced offense that's decent, but you don't count on them to run up the score the way the Steelers have tried to with overloading their offense with talent.
And to that point, like you guys, like I said, I'm a Pats fan. I wish we drafted receivers like you guys do. Every single year, you guys have new weapons that come in and produce at a high level, like Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. Like they came out of nowhere.
I'm an Eagles fan.
There was a great tweet from a Ravens fan during the season who said we could trade up and get Deontay Smith in the draft in the top 10, and the Steelers would draft a guy out of junior college in the 7th round named Boo Boo Blanket, and he'd be a better receiver.
Yeah,
it does feel like that. And there's times I'm like, okay, they I was like, there's times like before when they drafted Martavis Bryant, and I'm like, okay, he has some high ceiling, and then here he just comes contributing right away. And heck, I was all for getting J.K. Dobbins last year. I was like, man, that's the look. And when the 2nd round pick came, I was like, this is it. And then they get Chase Claypool, and immediately there was fire and outrage. And I'm like, listen, I feel you because I thought J.K. Dobbins was the better pick. But are you really going to test Kevin Colbert when he drafts a wide receiver? I'm not. And now look at Chase Claypool getting 13 touchdowns in his rookie season.
I mean, really, any of their drafts, they're just great at drafting, I feel like. I mean, look at that defense. They've rebuilt the defense because of the draft. I mean, they're just good.
Yep, they're good at it. And it's one of the things that people need to realize is that, because the thing is that people are going to say, well, if they're so good, why haven't they won a Super Bowl since 2008? People don't realize how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. You need so many things to line up. And I think
it's not that hard.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, but think about it this way: it took the Patriots 53 years to catch up to the Steelers. So I mean, but the thing is that, and I think the Patriots are going to find this out over the next 20, 30 years, and I think the Patriots are still living and reveling in. We just got 6 in the last 20 years. That's amazing.
We are.
But like. Over the next, as you start to see, unless you get a Patrick Mahomes, unless you get a superstar quarterback, the Patriots fans are going to start reliving it like the way the Steelers fans do. They're going to say, well, why don't we have this right now? And it's like, dog, it ain't easy. Andy Reid was a great coach for decades, but no one wanted to acknowledge it. Why? Because he wasn't winning Super Bowls. Now he has Patrick Mahomes and he's winning Super Bowls, and people are like, oh, he's a genius now. No, he was always a genius, but you have to have things line up for you to win a Super Bowl. That's why Sean Payton and Drew Brees only have 1 Super Bowl. Yeah. That's why Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson only have 1 Super Bowl. That's why Aaron Rodgers only has 1 Super Bowl. It is so hard. It is so hard in the NFL to get a Lombardi unless you have the best quarterback in the game, and then still several other things lining up for you. And that's just the reality here. And Steelers fans get spoiled because they've had 6 for 13 years now. So I think it's that thing where Patriots fans will start to see that too. They'll be like, well, wait a second, guys. We got to realize that unreal run from 2001 to 2019.
It won't happen
was
again.
Insane.
Yeah, it won't happen again.
Right. That stuff doesn't happen too often. And if it did, then it would just be the Patriots and the Steelers with 30 Super Bowls and no one else would win.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me I'm a Dodgers fan. We just won our first one and since my birth. You know, like I'm 30. That's the first one I've seen, and we've been there constantly. So it's funny because me and Birdie keep telling Double that he's in for a rude awakening here pretty soon because the Patriots are.
I'm 21 years old, so like my Boston fan through and through. My whole life has been pretty blessed in that department. But
you were born at the right time. You got to see the Red Sox. You got to catch. You got to see the Celtics win their title with Kevin Garnett. That's a heck of a time, dude. Yeah.
And they only got one.
But still to see and one NBA title. Do you know what Pittsburgh would do to get one World Series win? Like they wouldn't care if it was just one.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in my time being in Pittsburgh, I've seen 5 Stanley Cups. I've seen 2 Super Bowls, and I've seen the Pirates just make the playoffs. Like them beating the Reds in a wild card playoff game, and that is like the thing that my generation has. And technically I was alive when Barry Bonds and those guys in the early 90s were making it to the NLCS, but I mean I was 3 years old. I don't remember that. But this town would go nuts over that. So that's why if the Celtics win one, that's amazing. And so Boston does get that. But I think it's just a reminder, people got to appreciate how magical championship runs are and all the things that play into them. And when teams can do it multiple times, like the Steelers have, like the Patriots have, like the Cowboys did in the 90s, that stuff is magic. And you document it, talk about it, learn from it, ask questions about it. And that's why The Last Dance was such a great documentary, because it just went through every single thing the Chicago Bulls did in the 90s and said, this was how amazing these teams were.
Yeah. And I can't wait for the Patriots comes out, because that's going to be something in like a decade. Get the Last Dance version of that. But I just had one question about the Dwayne Haskins signing.
Sure.
And that was, do you think the off-field issues, one, are the only thing holding him back, and two, if it's something he can get past? I mean, he is still a young quarterback. He was a first-round draft pick. I personally don't think it's very good.
I think that Dwayne Haskins' problems are twofold. One, the off-field problems are a problem, but he is also on the field. He doesn't process defenses well enough right now.
Right.
And I give this. I am always a person, like I know like one of the one things people do, oh, this guy's a bum and that guy's a bum. I will evaluate and say, hey, this guy's not that good. But I always like to look at a player and say, hey, I think this player can get better.
Why is he held back? What is wrong with I see that with Wentz? Yeah,
I think he doesn't focus enough. And also, I think that a big part of what happened with Dwayne Haskins is that team didn't want him. Dan Snyder forced him on Ron Rivera, and that they made it clear we didn't want this.
That a few ago, that we were big on that.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I think Dwayne Haskins. Now, I'm not saying Dwayne Haskins is just going to come to the Steelers and just flourish. He's got to challenge himself. And I think the perfect representative is actually a guy I'm not named after, but the person I share my name with, Chris Carter, the Hall of Fame wide receiver from the Vikings. People forget when he was initially drafted to the Eagles, he was a hotshot dude from Ohio State, but he was drinking, he was on drugs, he did a lot of things. He would show up late for practices. He was not a disciplined person, and he had to get cut from the Eagles before he learned his lesson and started to clean up his life. And then that's what allowed him to become a Hall of Fame wide receiver. So for me, I always give someone a chance to rebound in their life and make a better story for themselves. Would I gamble on Dwayne Haskins doing that? No. I'm not much of a gambler. Two, it's tough to do that. Now, the Steelers are the organization. You're going to get the chance to clean your life up. It's going to be up to you. They don't baby you. They will, they're not going to issue a curfew.
We're the same way.
And that's how it should be. You are professionals. You're held to this standard. If you don't show up early and you don't do the extra things, that's on you, not me.
For sure.
Yeah, Aikman. I was watching the DP show, and Aikman said that he was asked if he ever questioned Irving and his dedication and all that stuff with all the off the field partying, and he goes, no, because he was always the first one there. Like, it didn't matter what he did off the field; he put in the work on the field. So I think that, like we talked about, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a great organization, and he just needs to change. And I'm big into second chances and looking at what's around you and all that stuff. It's funny, like you mentioned that in Pittsburgh, everyone wants Tomlin fired. In Philly, everyone thought Wentz was the problem. And I'm like, he's not the only problem here, guys. We have to look at everything. Like, so it's funny. We'll see how that ends up for the Steelers. But I mean, if not, they got to steal, you know.
Yeah, they if things don't work out for them. And here's the thing about Haskins. People were asking like, oh, how can we bet our future on him? They didn't bet nothing on him. They picked him up for dirt cheap.
Yeah, nothing.
If nothing else, they cut him in training camp, and then you never talk about him again. But if he comes in, and here's one of the sneaky things about this. Say Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt this year. Dwayne Haskins somehow comes in and has just one or two games where he lights it up, has a few big plays, and it doesn't mean that he's gonna have a great career, but he has that. Now teams are gonna start being like, oh wait, should we get Dwayne Haskins? Is he good? Is he good again?
Kind of like Bridgewater.
Right, like with Teddy Bridgewater. And here's the thing: the Steelers wouldn't have to even trade him. If after the season was done, if some team picks him up in free agency, guess who gets a first round pick of that? Because exactly.
Yeah.
And again, that's a supreme long shot. Probably won't happen. But the Steelers now say, okay, we at least have this guy. If he cleans his life up, great. If he doesn't, we lost nothing because of it. So I don't think Dwayne Haskins is that big a deal. I don't think he'll actually come into the Steelers and just light things up. But it's better to have a camp on than to not have a camp on.
Yeah, it's actually good to see them trying to address the situation. I think Roethlisberger's at the end of the line. And I always thought he was overrated. But, I mean, he's done great things for that city. He's won 2 Super Bowls. And so there he gets the respect. But it's funny. Do you think he is going to come back next year? And do you think that depends on how Haskins plays or participates in the offseason?
Oh, it has nothing to do with Haskins. He's not even thinking about Dwayne. I think Ben's coming back because he is a prideful person.
Isn't it a lot of money too? Sorry to interrupt you.
You're fine. So here's the situation with Ben. Right now he is a $41.2 million cap hit. The Steelers can save up to $19 million by getting rid of him. The Steelers have said, Art Rooney came out and said last week or 2 weeks ago now, we're willing to have Ben back, but at a major discount because he's not Mahomes. He's not Brady. He's not that upper echelon of quarterback. They can't afford that with what they're trying to do next year. And Ben Roethlisberger said the same day in a text message to some of our writers, Jerry Dulac and Ed Bouchette, he was just like, I'm willing to come back on whatever Mr. Rooney says I can come back on. So if that's true, and he's willing to take up to a $15 million, $18 million hit where they spread the money out a little bit more over the next couple of years, that buys the Steelers time. Because I don't think that with the way the Steelers are constructed right now, they could trade for a Deshaun Watson and things would be great because they still need to revamp the offensive line. They still need a starting running back, and they still need to keep investing into depth on defense. The best move for the Steelers is what I think that is the path I think they're on right now. You extend Ben Roethlisberger in name only because what's going to happen is you're going to move some of that $19 million that you can move this year and spread it out over the next 3 years. People don't realize that in 2022, the Steelers have the most cap space in the NFL. And that's without even calculating a 17th game that's going to get added to the regular season. They've got money over the next few years. And in this upcoming offseason, most likely they're going to lose Bud Dupree, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, and a number of other players to free agency. Guess what comes back their way from that? Comp picks. So in 2022, after this next season in 2021, where we'll see what happens. Do they get an offensive line? Do they get a running back? How much, if Ben stays, what's the offense like? Can the defense stay healthy? Whatever they do in 2021, if they can make a run, if they don't make a run, whatever, in 2022, they will have the opportunity to spend whatever money they want because they will have all the money they want. And B, they should probably have at least 2 third-round comp picks to play with. So then you're in a situation where you're like, okay, we can either trade to get our quarterback for the future and be able to pay him because we have the cap space, or B, we say we're going to trade up in the draft and we're going to get one of those top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 pick guys that's going to be the pillar of our offense moving forward. And that's when the Steelers make the move. But there's no need to rush right now. If you brought a new a quarterback in right now, they'd be under pressure the way Ben was this year. There wouldn't be a running game this year. They need to invest in the team around him. And I think Ben, don't ask him to be Superman. Don't ask him to be Patrick Mahomes. Just hand the ball off, work play action, and be the smart quarterback that avoids the mistakes. Because again, I think even in that Browns game, if you take away the first, if they had taken a knee for the first 4 drives where they had 4 turnovers, they take a knee in those drives, I think they win the game simply because they're not handing the Browns the ball inside the 30-yard line for the entire first quarter. And they do that, I think they end up winning it. That's the key to me. Don't turn the ball over, and Ben needs to accept that. Now, will he accept that? That's going to be a question because Ben has been a prideful guy for most of his career.
All right. Well, I think we can end on that. We appreciate the time. Anything you'd like to plug in, feel free to do so.
Thanks for having me on, fellas. Again, my name's Christopher Carter. I'm a Pitt beat writer and NFL analyst for DKPittsburghSports.com, as well as the host of the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can also find me on Channel 11, WPXI in Pittsburgh, our local NBC affiliate, and Steeler Nation Radio and ESPN Radio in Pittsburgh. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Carter Critiques. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. That's also my Instagram handle. But yeah, subscribe to our Locked On Steelers podcast. I talk Steelers Monday through Friday, every day of the week. If you want to know what's going on in Pittsburgh land there. And again, I'm covering Pitt basketball right now and having a bit of an interesting season. So all my written works at DKPittsburghSports.com. If you subscribe to that, you get, not only do you get the Steelers, you get the Pirates, the Penguins, Pitt, Penn State, and a whole bunch of other Pittsburgh coverage. It's amazing. Check us out there. And thanks again, guys, for having me on your show.
Thanks again. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
All right, and we're back. Good job, Dubs. Good job, Meech.
We woke Meech up at an ungodly hour on the West Coast to do that interview.
I woke up and immediately was like, why did we do this?
It's a good thing we are separated by an entire country because Meech could have fucking killed me on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I hate mornings with a fiery...
too,
I do too, but I was up and ready on that one.
I was up
Rare
best
morning
part-
that I was up and ready to go, but I am typically in your boat, Meech.
The best part about working from home is I can sleep in a little bit later than I normally would.
Yeah, like if you
I
got to
don't
work
like-
at 8, you get up at like 7:45 kind of shit.
Yeah, like 7:30 because I like to take a shower and make coffee
I
and all
do
that
that
stuff.
too.
But but you don't have to get up like an hour and a half before
Right.
you do all that shit and
Right.
then commute. So, but yeah, that morning I was pretty angry.
I woke up actually like uncharacteristically early too. I was up at like 9:30 in the morning, and I was just sitting in bed the whole time. But
You're sitting in bed during the goddamn interview. I
Yeah,
turned on
I
my
was.
camera for 2 seconds, and you're just like, "Hey, what's up?" Laying in bed like if you
I was
haven't
just like-
fucking moved.
I was like, this shit is way too early. Still, it's 11. I
This
don't know.
motherfucker pressed record and laid back down.
Yeah, I had it easy. I shouldn't complain. But yeah, I don't know. There was something about that morning, like up until like noon, that was just fucking tough. And then at noon, all of a sudden, I just got this like crackhead wave of energy, and I was just ready.
Super
to go.
Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, that's
Sunday, Sunday.
That's exactly what it was. All right, so let's get through some of this football news here, boys.
Well, let's wrap it up here with some football. The biggest bit of news here was the Bucks had their championship parade. They were all on boats, which was kind of cool. I fucked with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Lightning did the same shit.
Did they?
When they
missed
won the
that,
cup.
to
Yeah,
be
I think they
honest.
did the same shit. I mean, it's a pretty clever solution. You know,
It is,
especially
I like
being
it.
Tampa. Like that's a pretty cool thing, I think.
Yeah, I was all about it. Highlights from said parade: Scotty Miller dropped Chris Godwin's phone in the water. Ultimate oof. You're like, I mean, for them, you may never win another Super Bowl. You're recording fucking all
Yeah,
that shit, and then you just lose your phone.
that sucks.
That's tough. That's tough. My favorite part was Tom Brady being blackout fucking drunk and getting carried off the boat. Did you guys see that video?
No, I did
Sure
not.
did.
But
Sure did, and it made me happy.
It made me happy too. He's
I
just
was
down there living it up. He's like, fuck it, I got 7. There's a video. He's 2 other guys, one on his right, one on his left, and he's holding the Lombardi, and he just throws up. He looks to his left, looks to his right, and throws up the 7 on his fingers while he's holding the Lombardi. Just a fucking savage move.
dude, here's the thing about
Yeah.
him, man.
And
Like
you can tell he's trashed in it, which
Yeah,
makes
like-
it all the better.
the thing when we were right after the game, you know, Sked's a Bucks fan, so he was obviously so hyped, and he comes home and we're talking and we're watching all the footage and stuff. And I was like, you know, I want to hate the guy because he's so good, but then he's just so likable.
Yeah.
Like, I can't hate him, because
It's funny. You get him out of New England, all of a sudden he's a lot more likable.
yeah,
I
he's
feel
just
like.
so
He was fucking
likable.
likable here. You just couldn't talk to national media and everything.
Oh no, I was happy to
He's
see him
likable for
celebrating
20
because I
fucking
feel like
years.
as a team who won a championship, we kind of got actually two teams. My Lakers also won, but as two teams that won championships, I feel like you kind of got cheated. It was kind of like fun for me to live vicariously through them. You know?
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. I know exactly.
I remember
what you're
my
talking
first
about.
term.
Okay.
Was it on a couch in bad? Because that was how my first time was.
Bad and bad, but close.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, and it was funny
wasn't.
seeing clips of him being like, stumbling around like a normal person.
It was
it was
pretty
just
funny.
I was entertained by the whole situation. Did you see him throwing the Lombardi trophy?
Yeah,
to
dude, he just
Gronk?
fucking tossed it across the boat to Gronk. He's like, "You got it, big guy." And when you've won it 7 times, you just treat it like
Yeah,
this
exactly.
thing's fucking mine anyway.
We've been over this before too. Like, it's not a trophy like the Stanley Cup.
No,
that's
it's not.
like it's like that's the problem. I wish all trophies were kind of like the Stanley Cup, so they had like some
It's-
meaning.
It has the Stanley Cup has the whole aura to it. Like the guy comes out with the gloves, and it's,
Well, I mean, and it's the same trophy that it's been for over 100
that's what I
years.
mean. Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and it's treated that way.
Exactly. Like I wish that all sports kind of had that trophy because I feel like it just, I don't know, it just makes it like mythical, like in a whole nother way. I don't know.
I know. I like that only the Stanley Cup has that. I feel like it's good that the rest of them are
Hockey
different.
gets
I don't know.
one up on some he gets a one up somewhere.
Yeah, fair enough. I wish I had that job. Being the keeper of the cup would be so awesome. I just feel like that's probably such a dope ass job. I mean, you don't do anything for 363 days a year.
You sit at the Hall of Fame and talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. What a dope job. And that guy's the man too, by the way. I can't remember his name, but we all know his face and his fucking goofy haircut. But that
I'm
dude
pretty
is
sure
the
we
man.
talked to him when we went to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I gotta get there at some point in my
Doesn't
life.
it kind of look like Al Davis's son, Mark Davis? Or am I picturing that wrong?
I don't know because I can't picture what he looks like in my head.
I can't picture the two of them.
Hold
looking
on.
similar,
I'm
to
on
be
it.
honest.
I'm on it. Bad podcasting. Sophie's texting me. Why are you texting me?
Nah, he doesn't.
Stop
He doesn't.
texting me. We're
he does look
podcasting.
janky,
Bad
though.
podcast.
Yeah, he kind of looks like him a little bit in the face. You're not wrong. You're not way off. It's just, he's got like this amazing.
Guys, we
like,
got to be
Bon
on
Jovi
this.
hair.
We need pictures of any person that we might randomly bring up in conversation. Ready to go. This is amateur shit.
You're right. It is. So let's get back to some professional
But you know what won't
shit.
be amateur shit?
Huh.
Throwing D's, the David Rush story.
Yeah, I'll
Astound
start,
podcast original.
Astound Sports original feature.
I'll start working on the screenplay next week.
You don't have to. We're using actors that lived it. They just replay those events.
I think Meech used to write screenplays in college.
I didn't really go to college, so let's not talk about that.
All right, any other football stuff you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, Russell Wilson had comments on my boy's show. He was asked if he
The
would
double
like
penetration show.
Yeah, the DP show. Yeah, he was asked if he wanted say in personnel moves. He was asked kind of those kind of things. And basically as inflammatory as Russ could be, because we all know he doesn't say he's like Jeter. He doesn't say anything. Like his interviews are useless usually.
Right.
He said that he would, and because it defines, your legacy and all that stuff, it would be nice to have some say in it.
Russ probably took a Tylenol after that.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he's pretty even kills. So the fact that he even said it was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's funny because I feel like the QB's agents all got together at one point. Were like, hey, we should just keep re-upping each other's contracts so that every new quarterback is the highest paid quarterback. I feel like the quarterbacks were like, we are the most important person on a football field. We should probably have say in personnel moves. Yeah, let's all do it. So now I feel like you're having like a rash of QBs coming out and doing that.
rash of QBs.
A rash of QBs.
Anything else you want to talk
Boom,
about?
phrasing.
Tough acting tonight.
They're tough acting tonight. There's just a couple minor signings. Texans longtime team president resigned from his position. He wanted out of Houston. It's going to absolute hell. Mike Pettin moved from the Packers to the Bears and a move across the NFC North. He became the Bears' senior defensive assistant. The Vikings also picked up a senior defensive assistant, that being Paul Gunther, former Raiders D coordinator. He got fired by Gruden last year, 2 seasons ago, sorry. And he worked with Zimmer for 6 years in Cincinnati, so reuniting with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. One thing I forgot from the parade, did you guys see Gronk joke that KC should sign the guy who ran on the field?
No.
Said he actually made it to the end zone.
Oh,
Jesus.
tough talk.
I mean, he's not wrong, though.
He is not wrong at all.
Absolute body bag from
As-
Gronk.
Dude.
One of the most overrated players in NFL.
As the
history.
best tight end
He's
of all
not.
time,
He's
he can
just
say what he
not.
wants to say.
He is fucking not.
And that's the show this week.
Also, the Cowboys hype video. Did you see this? Excluded Dak.
No.
They released a hype video. Did not have Dak Prescott.
I
in
bet
it.
fans weren't very hyped about it.
I mean, especially if you see how the team played without him, for
That's
sure.
what I mean. They're probably
yeah.
fucking
Playoff hero Taylor Heineke, the Heineken
2
man.
years, 8.5. The man's
Yeah.
getting the bag. Good for Taylor
Yeah.
Heineke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
he will have a
Heineken.
chance to start there, so we'll see what that is. And on Eagles news in the Eagles corner, Eagles might have overplayed their hand. I think they wanted a Stafford-like deal for Wentz, and I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm
Shot
sure
their
our-
load a little too early.
Yeah, it's Howie. I'm sure our great GM will make a great deal. All sarcasm. He's horrible.
I
Yeah.
can tell.
Yeah, the sarcasm was easily detectable.
I mean, I know you guys know me, but just for anyone else listening, I really want them to know that he
Yeah.
is the absolute worst.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap the show up there on another Eagles Minute with Meech. Thanks for listening. Follow us on all the social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. It's all Stone Sports Podcast. And take care. We'll see you next time. Say goodbye, boys.
Peace.
Night.